developed internally. The system of government and opposition developed through the confrontation with contradictions within their society. Whereas, in our case, opposition grew in response to an external power. It was a part of the nationalist movement which created the main opposition party, the Congress Party. Whereas in Britain and in the United States, the parties of government and the parties of opposition grew together. In our case, the party of opposition was a party which was in opposition to an alien power and which succeeded to a large extent in driving that alien power out of the country. And in doing so, it developed a peculiarly possessive attitude towards government. And I think that is something we cannot forget. That the Congress Party, even today, has a peculiarly possessive attitude towards the government. It's not just a question of the loaves and fishes of office. It is a strong ideological sense that the country is safe only in our hands. If the government goes out of our hands, the country will not be safe. I'm not saying that the loaves and fishes of office, the temptations of office are not important. But I think that there is a deep-rooted feeling within the Congress Party, and I've never discussed this with our present Prime Minister, but I am sure that in his bones this is what he feels. That if power goes out of our hands, the country will not be safe. That is not what Mr. Major felt in 1997. He felt that the country would still be safe. It wouldn't be run as well as we are capable of running it, but it will not disintegrate or fall apart. I think that there is a strong feeling, a strong sense among the best elements in the Congress Party that if we let go of power and office, God alone knows what will happen to the country. Unless that feeling is put to rest, I don't think that we can have a healthy relationship between government and opposition. One party has a peculiarly and there are good historical reasons as to why it should have it. I think it had an opposition in the nationalist movement. There was an opposition party within the country, not just, and that was the Muslim League. But once the Muslim League was put away, the Congress felt that any party which has any special relationship or association with any religious community, no matter how valid or, I know secular Indians, many secular Indians of my kind, who are deeply apprehensive of any party, no matter how secular that party in fact may be, which carries the Hindu name with it. But this is not true in Germany or in the Netherlands. For instance, in Germany, you have the Christian Democratic Party, which is in office now. They are much more relaxed about identifying themselves as a Christian party. We are not relaxed about accepting Hindu parties. The reason for this is that we always think of the Hindu parties as the counterparts of the Muslim League. And therefore, as people with whom the affairs of the country will not be safe. I think that is a very important factor, and it's a limitation on our political imagination. I often think that, what is it that leads to this peculiarly contentious relationship between the ruling party and the opposition party? I think that it is a failure of political imagination. I've given you the reasons why this political imagination has not taken root. It's a failure of the political imagination because the party in power cannot place itself in the position of being in the opposition, nor can it imagine any other party running the government more or less effectively. So these are some of the things that I wanted to talk about, and I believe that the party system is an absolutely essential institution for the running of democracy, or for establishing a healthy relationship between the government and the opposition in our country. Now, our party system has had a peculiar history. I've mentioned that. But I will briefly mention some of the types of party systems. You know, in the 60s and 70s, Rajni Kothari used to say that our party system was a peculiar party system. It was neither a one-party system nor a multi-party system. It was a system of one-party dominance. And that is the system which prevails in the minds of many people. But there are formally, there are various kinds of party systems. There is a one-party system. A one-party system is not really a system. A one-party system, and they have been successful for a time in some important parts of the world, in the Soviet Union, in China. We still have a one-party system in China, and many people admire China for the effectiveness of government there because it has a one-party system. But logically considered, a one-party system is not a party system. To be a system, you need more than one unit. So it's not a party system. But if you ask them, why doesn't China allow more than one party? Or if you ask the friends of the Communist Party of India in the 50s and 60s, the question, why doesn't the Soviet Union have more than one party? They would say, what's the need? It just leads to contention and strife. It's doing very well with one party because that one party looks after all the interests of all the sections of society. But a Democrat believes in his bones that if a political system does not have an organized opposition, then there is something fundamentally wrong with that political system. Opposition is not only desirable, but the absence of opposition should be a source of suspicion and mistrust in a democracy. We have had one-party systems. In my part of the country, the part of the country from which I come, West Bengal, so we've had effectively a one-party system for more than 30 years, effectively. But it's not the same thing as having a one-party system in the country as a whole. A one-party government which has to operate in a multi-party system is a very different kind of thing. So we all know what are the perils of a one-party system. I don't think that that needs to be discussed. But there is another alternative in India, about which I am equally worried, although that other alternative has not really acquired a concrete form anywhere, but it remains in the imagination and in the minds of people. Not a two-party system, not a multi-party system, not even a one-party system, but a system of party-less democracy. A kind of democracy in which there will be no parties. And Mahatma Gandhi believed very strongly that parties create divisions in society, whereas a proper social order needs harmony and unity. With great respect to Mahatma Gandhi, I think that that is not my conception of democracy. I think that there should be opposition, and the opposition should be out in the open. If you talk about the ill effects of having an open opposition, then the opposition will go underground and will engage in activities which are to nobody's advantage or benefit. Mahatma Gandhi believed in this. Mahatma Gandhi, but you know, he did not live to see the operation of democracy in India for very long. He died, as you know, before the constitution was made or adopted. But he believed in a partyless democracy. And I regard a partyless democracy as a threat to the kind of system that I believe to be a proper democracy, in which opposition is in the open, it is legitimate, and it is institutionalized. After Mahatma Gandhi died, this idea of partyless democracy was taken up by another man who played a very important part in our political arena, and that was Jayaprakash Narayan. Jayaprakash believed very much in partyless democracy, in reviving partyless democracy. And Jayaprakash, in order to have a partyless democracy, he released social movements of various kinds. I don't want to go into the consequences of the JP movement in the 70s and afterwards, but I am very suspicious of a notion of a partyless democracy, because I think that in the modern world We need both government and opposition as institutions, and democracy can work well only when we recognize the legitimacy of both government and opposition and look forward to the alternation of parties and groups in government and in opposition over time. That is really what I wanted to talk to you about. Thank you for listening to me.